Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 men that are doing this work in sincerity and in truth across the four corners of the earth. And much love to the 1/3 and the innumerable multitude of you believers out there. To you all, I say Shalom. I'm the brother Yeshaya, and I pray, Lord willing, that this lesson is edifying through the Spirit. All right, this is an in transit that I'm doing. Last night I was putting together a lesson, but Jake was tired, man. That flesh be weary, man. You know, you be having plans and thoughts about what you're gonna do, and then shit, you just get took over out of nowhere, you know. So I just wanted to do this through the Spirit because something that took place yesterday. Now it's not complete, and that's what when you learn about the judicial and legislative branch of the government, you understand that it isn't. You'll see something online, but it isn't in its fullness. All right. So basically, it was going into how the House passed a bill to where they would cut Medicare, and EBT benefits. And see, you know, first off, you gotta, let me get that first, actually, through the Spirit. You got a government right now who has an agenda, okay? You got and it's against you people, you know? The government is single-handedly trying to destroy its citizens, trying to take over, trying to bring in the New World agenda, you know? That's their mentality right now, okay? Let me see. I had another verse, but I'm trying to get this. Yeah, there you go. You know, but this is Matthew 12 and verse 25. It says, "And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall this kingdom stand?" So you're looking at a nation, even not talking about just in the governmental aspect, 144 call out on the truck. But how can a kingdom stand if they're against each other? So now you got the government who's against its own people, right? At the end of the day, we know that how they set up Medicare and how they set up EBT and the reasons why they do it, we know it's through. But it's still something that the people find pleasurable and helpful, right? So now you are coming against your own citizens because they're trying to implement their New World Order. They're trying to get this government financial deficit down, you know. So that's what the mission is right now. You just got to pay attention to what's going on. These are Trump. At the end of the day, Trump is a businessman, and these are financial moves that he's making. Okay, so and really Elon Musk is behind this, and you know, they're trying to get that money down. But at the end of the day, that debt, that thick clay, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's only so much that they can do. It's too far gone, and the money is still going out and being spent and used and absorbed. All right, so they got the people who going against the government, and then you got the government going against itself. So what I was meaning was earlier, so you got the House of Representatives, right? You got the House of Representatives, and then you got the Senate. With those two groups, that's what creates Congress. All right, when they say the House of Congress, it's complete of senators and House members, representatives. So the representatives, the House of Representatives, they voted to pass the bill, and it was by one vote. It was like, I forget the numbers. It's like 215 to 214 people, and then it got passed. So, but that doesn't mean it's legitimate yet because it has to go through the Senate now. So the Senate has to make a vote, and obviously the Trump. So usually when they have a situation like that, and then they need the president to write about it. If they both pass it, the president can still veto it, which means he can still deny it, and if it's something that he didn't want. But this is what Trump is requesting. So Trump is considering this a great win because the House of Representatives, I believe right now, is mainly made of Democrats, if I'm not mistaken. So he didn't expect to win, but that's why they show you, hey, House of Cards is a good show to watch. I wish they wouldn't have. My boy, what's his name? Kevin Spacey, whatever his name is. He, after that, them allegations of him doing the stuff with the women, they took him off that show, but he made that show great. I ain't gonna lie. I believe that's his name, but he made that show great, and they took it off and they tried to put the woman president, and it was just through after that. But I'm glad they kind of put it to an end, but without ruining it too much. But that movie House of Cards, it shows you how grimy the government is. Y'all might say, no, that's not a government. That's exactly how the government is. It shows you how grimy it is. It shows you what people will do to win. It shows you the lengths that people will go to. People will even kill and steal and cheat, you know. And you know, for the president himself, he was even killing people in the show, you know. But it also shows you how they flip representatives and how they flip senators to basically get their way across. But they get promises like, you're going to get a better job, you're going to get land if you do this for me, I'm going to be able to help you, I'll do this, I'm going to give you this position. You know, all of this kind of stuff. So it's always inner workings moving on. As a matter of fact, this reminds me of Psalms 94, which I was reading actually. Let me see here. Oh, I said 94. Yeah, so let me see. This exactly reminds me of this scripture. The Lord got all these people in the chokehold. He got all of the world on edge about what he's going to do next. They're worried about the government. They need to be worried about what Yahweh Shem Shai going to do next. All right, this is Psalms 94 and verse 20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So the throne of iniquity, right? What is the throne of iniquity? The throne of iniquity is ultimately Esau, Edom, especially the so-called elites, right? The so-called elites. You got Amalek, right? The so-called JOOs, JEWSs, right? They have they're the iniquity of deceit. But shit, all of that stems down from them and it reaches unto your government, right? You got Esau, Edom out here, the so-called white nation, framing mischief by law. So they'll create laws which are ultimately going to destroy people, jack people up, twist people up, confuse people. You know, like one of the biggest ones, you know, is how they were locking Israelites up, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, how they were locking you all up for marijuana, right? Everybody who's ever had a marijuana case should have had some type of recompense. Right now, they're to the point where they're selling it legally. Like, there's places around the world, even places where it's not legal, you can walk into a store and buy it. You know, and they just got it there. Straight bud, straight flower. You know what I'm saying? That's wicked. You arrest all of these jakes for doing it, calling it a gateway drug, is making the white women sleep with black men. You know, all of this stuff. But now you will legally sell it for the same stuff you was locking our people up for. Right? But now, like I said, EBT is through. But you know, Jake loved EBT, man, especially the so-called black woman. You know, that's why you can see how the time is going to change. Let me get that verse. You know, how the time is going to change. So with these people out here and with these women, with these men too. These men out here that's profiting off of EBT. I'm not going to knock it, honestly. If you can get the EBT, fuck it, you know. Now, I will say sometimes in life I've had stuff that pop up and say, have you had SNAP or EBT in the WIC in the last year? You know, I've only had EBT one time in my life, and that was because I was in a program, and basically they paid us what was called a living stipend. So basically it would help with our rent. It was a part of my job, so to speak, but it was a program. But they would give us, a part of it was giving us free food stamps. But for the people that got it, shit, if you can get free food, man, do you know how much money that takes off of your monthly wages if you can get EBT? So I'm not gonna act like I don't see the benefits in it, but who is mainly taking control of this? You got single women who have cast out the father, who's trying to get all of these governmental benefits of being a woman, benefits of being of kicking the man out the house, EBT benefits, SNAP, WIC. They got home buyers programs. They got programs for single mothers. You know, all of the health. Down here we got one called Healthy Mother, Healthy Babies. You know, stuff that's set up for women to flourish using the government as a husband. Ultimately, you know, they've made the government their husband, and when you do that, you now feel like you. That's why our women have grown that. You wonder why the so-called black woman is the way they are. And I'm not making this about them because y'all know I don't make videos on Eve no more. But ultimately they have used the system to as a husband. So therefore, if they need money, you know, daddy, I need some money. Give me my EBT. Instead of loving the man that brought them a child, that gave them a child. This is the irony about children. Women will say they love their child more than anything in this world. My kids first. They will say that. But the man that gave you the children, you hate him more than anything in the earth. Isn't that crazy? Because he didn't want to be with you. Isn't that crazy? Could you imagine that? The greatest gift somebody has ever given you, you hate the person that gave it to you? It's so crazy. But anyway, they'll say EBT. So that, yeah, dad, I need some money. So that get my man, my ex, to pay me child support. So now I don't gotta work. I can live at home. I got EBT. I got food stamps. I don't need I don't need men to provide for me. Instead of the government saying, hey, that's what they really need to be saying. All right, we're going to take away EBT and child support from y'all. And now y'all got to be forced to be with the man that you had that child with. That's what a responsible government would do. You know? It was your decision to let that man shoot his rocks off in you. But this is Isaiah 32. I'm going to read verse 9. And we know this scripture, the Apostle Paul was going into the real breakdown of how it's about Babylon, if I'm not mistaken. But we it's still the spirit that we've had with it for years. You know how it affects, how it's on point. It says, verse 9: "Rise up, ye women that are at ease; hear my voice, ye careless daughters; give ear unto my speech." You know, so you careless daughters, like, you know, that they have the women in the society have been careless. The men in the society have been careless, you know. But the thing is, women don't realize that. I saw the Elder Gabar Howard. He sent a video about a woman basically saying she needs a life manager, you know, and how she says she's ready to stay at home. She's ready to cook. If we go to a cookout, you know, she's ready to bring her husband a nice plate. She's ready to serve. She's ready to go back into what the Lord created her to be, because she said how her job was vexing her to the point where she just can't take it anymore. Right? But that's what we've been trying to tell you all along, right? It doesn't mean just because we're the man and we're the head, it doesn't take away the beauty of your position, right? In order to make things run, if you have a business, and they have made marriage a business, but a marriage does have business aspects, right? But it's just wicked that Esau is making it a financial business so he can profit. But it is a business. There can't be two CEOs, right? He's the main boss. You're not going to have, that's not how it works. You trying to be the head of the house. You trying to run the show, you know. But that's the balance of the man that's going on and he's working hard and doing what he got to do. Of you doing your portion and taking care of the children, taking care of the house, and taking care of the husband, and he's taking care of the other things. Hey, man, that's just balance. That's just balance. But the women, they want to be men so bad, but don't realize the problems and the frustrations that come with being a man. That's why the Lord gave men their portion and women their portion. You have to appreciate your lot and what the Lord gave you, and learn how to flourish in it. And you women, if your man is doing something, you want him to be different, you want him to be better, you don't realize how far support from your woman will go. Well, we got support from Yahweh Shema Shah ultimately, but when your woman is telling you positive things, hey babe, you got this, you're gonna do great today, you know, you the man, you the best man walking the earth, you know, shit, That's how you're supposed to be looking at you. We think Yahushua is the best man that walked the earth, and he is, undoubted. But right now, every wife should be telling her man, you the best man that ever walked this earth. Point blank period. Whoever your man is, if your man, a man of the Lord, especially, you the best man that's walking this earth. And so they're going to realize they got to tap back into their feminine. They got to tap back into their support. They got to tap back into what make a part of making them women, right? They tired of working, man. Y'all ain't built to be out here doing what we doing. I mean, I understand y'all got to do it the times that we living in now. We're living in a harsh society, but you do what you supposed to do. Pray to the Lord, stay in the woman's road. The Lord will bless you to where, you can be in a position where you ain't got to work as hard. It says, many days and years shall you be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Right? So it's going to be a time where we are entering into the time where those troubling days are coming. Right? Where Jacob's trouble is coming. We're entering into those times. They're talking about all the ports being closed, the imports being taken out, all of the tariffs, even if they say they're putting pause on things. Hey, the pauses don't mean a pause. It simply means that a hiatus for a brief moment. That's all a pause is, right? Because when you have when you're watching a movie and you press pause, you're planning on coming back and pressing play. Now, it might not be right then, it might not be today, but you like, man, if you really enjoyed that movie, which the Lord does enjoy this movie, he's gonna press play again, and this thing is gonna start back up, and it might be in the worst position. That's why America is doing things like selling arms. That's why they made the arms deal, and they gave Donald Trump a plane. It's because America's trying to shorten that debt that they have. But they're also trying to shorten how much finances and funds that they're putting out. And so they got to be aware of their expenses and things like that. That thick clay is getting overburdened, right? One of the brother's daughters the other night, she had some Play-Doh in her hand. And I was like, what is that, Play-Doh? And she was like, yeah, and that's likened. It's basically, you can tear it a little bit, but you can stretch it, but it's likened to thick clay. Something that if you was in a whole goddamn vat of clay, like burdened mud. Essentially, clay is like burdened mud. Like, it's mud, but like thicker, man. Quicksand. Something that just keeps holding. And then that's the thing about quicksand. The harder you fight, the more it pulls you down. Right? So that's the irony of them fighting to try to clear themselves of this debt. Really? And they're not even understanding it. So, they got to get through the Senate now, but I hope it's passed because, shit, man, these times will come. You can't, brothers, you got to see it. These are ways to where Isaiah 4:1 is going to come. These are streamlines for that. Between this, high inflation, finances, and I pray the Lord always protect us and give us what we need, give us our daily bread so we can take care of our loved ones, of course. But, there's going to be, between the finances, the wars that's coming, right? That's prophesied how women are going to lose their husbands, how they're going to have to cleave onto men of the Lord, right? And I'm going to just get this last one, and I'm going to wrap it up. This is Isaiah 32. I'm going to start at 1. It says, behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment. And the Lord, Yahushua, is that king, ultimately through his father, Yahweh. But he's that king that's going to reign in righteousness. And we're the princes. Lord willing, we be those men. We're the princes that are going to rule in judgment. All right? The Lord says, shall we not judge the 12 tribes of the children of Israel? Right? He says we're going to judge the earth. Okay? So we're going to have to know how to deal with judgment. We're going to know how to deal with righteousness and good and evil. Right? That's what the Lord is preparing us for. Is now. This is our boot camp, essentially. This is our boot camp, man. This is what the Lord is helping us so we can become those soldiers that's fit, and those wise men that's fit to rule. All right, but verse 2 is the point. It says, and a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind. And what's the wind? Ultimately, the wind is that thermonuclear destruction, that great wind that's going to overtake America, right? And that a woman, you know, believing in the Yahweh Shema Shah and believing that her husband is going to keep her protected, right? He's going to be your hiding place to keep you safe, you know? It says, and a covert from the tempest, right? Yeah, a covering from the tempest, the wild winds and the terrible temperatures, degrees, and elements, the fire, right? A tempest can be referred to as a fire too, and water. You know, it says sometimes it says water is tempestuous, you know, but it says as the rivers of water in a dry place. So if you're out and you're dehydrated, a man is going to be like a river of water, of fresh water, man, where you can just drink from it till you're filled. It says as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land, right? A weary land. So the weary land is kind of like a desert land. You know, you just being wore out, you know, like it's the sun just beating on you, and you just main thing you might want shade a little more than water. I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So the Lord says it's a great rock in a weary land. So something that's wearing you out, something to keep heat and sand and the sun off of you, keep from beating you up for a while. That's what a man of the Lord is going to be like very soon, right? And it says that dry rock, that great rock in a weary land. And also that's a rock keeps you stable and sturdy, a foundation. That's what Yahweh Shai is for us. We're in a weary land. Babylon is a weary land. And the Yahweh Shai is our great rock that's helping keeping us through this place. You know, and I'll never forget on the Life of Pi, the movie Life of Pi. He was that's about a man who was it's through with all the idol gods in there, but basically he said he became fascinated with Yahweh Shai. He says Jesus in the movie, but he said he became fascinated with him and how he sacrificed his life for all of these people and things like that. But basically, when he was on a boat with a tiger, he said that he used a piece of clothing and some sticks to make. He was on a raft. He was on a boat, and so he used that to make a covering, like a thing to block the sun off of him. He said he never knew how much he appreciated a piece of shade. You know, it was covering him because the sun was just making him tired. It was like a weary land, even though he was on water. It was just beating up on him, man. You know, so as they got these different things coming to pass, ultimately they're trying to get that C-hip pass. So they need to strip. That's another thing. They need to strip. Ooh, this just hit me. They need to strip away all of the things that you rely on so they can put a C-hip in you, right? If they take away your EBT, they take away your food stamps, they take away your SNAP, and ultimately if they take away child support, if they take away all of these things, then you're going to have to say, I need the government. I need my father, the government. You are your father, the devil. I need them to be able to spare me from these woes. So they're gonna be like, look, we gotta the fixer to all your problems. You know, get this EBT. Get this C-hip. Take this in your hand. All your problems are gonna go away. You're gonna have money. You know, they might get that UBI popping. Who knows, man? But they need to strip from you all the things you rely on, so you can become reliant on that C-hip, man. So hey, I'm gonna wrap it up with that one. I pray, Lord willing, that this lesson was edifying. I want to give all the praise, the honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, HaKodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and mercy to the elect. Until next time, Shalom.